Whenever I'm ready?
Yeah.
Like right now, ready?
Right now.
Hello, everyone. We're on the Geeky Gamer Podcast. You know who we are. This is episode 16. It's going to be a pretty good one. I think it's going to be good. We got a Tawd Dorenfeld with us. Tawd is the founder of Tink Tank Animate LLC, a neurodiverse arts of storytelling program. He's the writer, director, and innovator of unusual and visually eye-popping Cilio, Ghost Brat, Paul, Tree Asphalt, and the Anna Cabrini Chronicles. Music videos he's done with Serj Tankian, SOAD, Zap Mama, GoodCharlotte, The Offspring, and so many more. Tawd, thank you very much for being with us today, this evening, whatever time it is for you.
Thank you.
What time is it for you?
Same time for you.
Same time for me. Well, I just live in a hole. And
7:30.
I'd also like to thank all lowercase letters and Mr. Interrupt for the music that's on the show and all our Patreon members. Tim Roberts, Daniel Hulker, Nostalgic, and Natalia Cline. As well as Art Media Pie.
I was getting Tawd is sitting right there. They know who they are. They know who they are.
Couchfire Media and
Couchfire
content and shit like
they
that.
just won't stop. Those guys.
Replay Productions. Thank you, Tawd, for being here. We're
Indeed.
Obviously we are professionals in every way.
We always start on time. That's part of our charm. It's what does Gandalf say? A wizard is never late nor early, but arrives exactly when they intend to. We're a bunch of wizards. That's what we're getting to. So let's do some introductions. Tawd, I'm going to have you introduce yourself last because you're most important. Hey, Ken, who are you?
My name is Ken Howl, and I would like to inform Bill Bunkum that his mic's not correct. So I'm a filmmaker. Sometimes I go by different names, but on this program I go by Ken Howl. And I've been making films for 25 years. I do 2 podcasts at this point. One on Monday nights with
2.5.
Yeah, there you go. And it's a role-playing game that we immerse ourselves into the lore and Craster of the lore of Craster in a dark post-apocalyptic world set in the world of DreadLore. We do live play. That's who I am. Who are you, Bill?
Big nobody. Hey, Tawd. Who are you, sir? How do you know Ken?
I'm a filmmaker, an animator, a writer. You, sir. I've known Ken because he's all those things as well. And we met eons ago in LA in that Hollywood land, but it wasn't like a Hollywood land. We never were in the Hollywood land. We were on like the outskirts of the gutter of the Hollywood land.
The fringe of the gutter of the fringe.
Yeah, it was like the fringe of the gutter. Like, so you had like the gutter, and then me and Ken were on the fringe of the gutter. We made really good stuff on the fringe of the gutter, but we were pretty much over there, and that's how we met each other. Yeah.
The fringe of the gutter. I would not say that.
No, we did better stuff than that, but yeah, we met in LA, and we were we just worked on small budgets, but we always made really nice stuff. We like built mountains out of molehills because we just were like kind of big thinkers with little computers.
Around about, so I'm gonna date you really quick. Around about what era was this? This was like 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah. 2-3 years ago, early 2000.
Yeah, a couple years ago in the early 2000s. What equipment were you using to make your films?
HD cameras, HD video cameras.
Yeah, they weren't HD. They were SD.
No, they
I
weren't.
broke one. No, it wasn't HD. It was 720p. That stuff was standard def. That I totally broke.
Yeah. It was 72.
I broke your Canon. What was the Canon? You had a Canon something. I totally.
Yeah, they didn't call it. They weren't considered HD.
No,
They were just 720p. Yeah.
720p cameras.
To put that in perspective really quick, right now, what are we using? As in not like on Discord, but like, what would you guys, if you had been doing it today, what would you be using?
My phone.
Yeah, and that's not 720p. That's
No, it's 4K.
4K.
Yeah.
What's below 4K?
2K.
2K, and what's below that?
HD.
HD. So you guys are like rolling, and then below the HD is what?
What we were using.
What you were using. All right, so it's been a minute. It's been a minute. Technology has changed.
Yeah. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Do you think it would have made a difference though? Like working in 4K versus 720p?
The cameras were heavier.
Just bigger.
Yeah, they were much bigger and much heavier. Much bigger and much heavier. I wouldn't be as injured as I am now. Probably.
Well, there's several questions I could ask about it. I just wanted to give a little context to people that didn't know what a 720p was. Which, you know, I do know what it is. I've known what it is. I've had to set up OBS. You have to do the dumb calculation to figure out aspect ratio, but I don't really know what it is. What is it?
So, 720p, what's it mean?
Yeah.
It's just a small, imagine a smaller picture.
Smaller picture.
Yeah.
720 lines progressive.
Just imagine a smaller picture. Yeah, just think of it like, just think of bigger pieces of paper, right? So 720p is a smaller piece of paper than HD. And then 2K is a bigger piece of paper than an HD. And then 4K is a bigger piece of paper than 2K.
Right. So for the chat, that's what it all means.
Now, film, right? Film is a negative, right?
Right.
And now a negative has the potential of being blown up larger than that original piece of paper. It still will lose detail, but it still has the potential of being blown up to larger and keeping its detail.
So I'm gonna dive into this if we're not careful, Ken. Do you have a question?
No, this is too technical because I'm not smart enough to talk about it.
No, but you know about it. You got the experience.
No, that's the limit. I hit my wall. Anything else, and you're gonna get guys calling in going, Todd doesn't know shit. Why are you even talking to this guy? So, yeah, you'll just get turned off.
Todd, I'm probably the expert when it comes to that.
Yeah. Can I use the bathroom real quick?
Yo, do it.
Is that allowed on podcasts?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
or was I
you just have to do it on camera.
Am I supposed to bring a jug with me?
Yeah, you got to bring a pea cup.
Under the desk jug, I can just go like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the pisseria, dude. That's what you got to use.
What was the term for the pea cup that you had?
It's the pisseria.
Pizzeria. It's funny, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're looking at the,
Now don't say basically, because there's nothing basic about this.
there's complicatedly, if you're looking at my little image here that I've got going on of just me in the browser, that's like 720p, and then the slightly bigger one is probably 1080i, and then the full is size wise, but we're only going at 1080. like the whole stream
1080.
is 1080.
We're doing 1080.
Is what we're streaming. Yeah, is what the whole stream is. So it's
the reason
it's like
the reason
a quarter of or not quite a quarter.
So the reason that I ask is because it's fucking complicated. And I'll tell my little story once Todd gets back. But
I'm back.
okay, but the idea of like, okay, so I do some network security and administration and such. So like modems and routers, all that crap. And one of the things that I learned upon studying it, like pretty much immediately, was how much I assumed I understood and how the history of those devices really informs the now. So to not be so cryptic, as an example, a router like in your home, and you might know this if I'm preaching to the choir, a router that's in your home is not really a router. It's actually several things all combined into one thing. We call it a router, and we say, oh yeah, it gives out Wi-Fi, whatever. But actually, it's not what a router does. A router does multiple different things in your home. It's multiple devices that have been smushed together, and we just call it a router. If you go down the history, though, of, like the internet starting in the mid-90s and all that, and what kind of devices they had, and you can actually understand, oh, they first had this, then they had this, then they had this, and they connected and they worked a certain way. And then as technology got more advanced, they had better ways of accomplishing the same goal, and it's really easy to get in. That's the kind of stuff you have to learn, because if you don't understand that doing networking, then people will say, oh, well, you have to do this process to make your internet work. And it won't make any sense, because you're like, I just plug in the router, why doesn't it work? Right? Like, what do you mean configure a router? Okay, away from the networking bullshit. When it comes to film and these kinds of things, as I get into that, making films with Ken, and having to deal with aspect ratios and whatever the fuck a 1080p is, all these frame rates and shit, like, I know the lingo, I've heard it over and over and over, but I don't really understand it. Someone says, oh, it's 4K, and I'm like, that's better than 2K.
Yes. 4K is 4 times the 1080. So, I mean, it makes sense because it's 4,000, basically. It's not quite 4,000, but...
It's interesting, though, Todd mentioned the negatives. So I understand that, right? Because you have film, and it's, it's got like the little... it's not solenoid. What is it called? Is it solenoid? Old film? Yeah.
Yes.
And it had like the little ticker things on the side, and that's a negative, right?
Yes.
And you shine light through it.
No, that's a print. That's a print.
See, there you go. So, like, you're like, oh, it's a negative. And I'm like, what the fuck's a negative?
I actually lied. We didn't shoot 720p. That is actually much larger than we shot. Those cameras we had were 480p.
Oh.
Yeah,
480.
You see what I'm saying? It's
like those cameras, but the thing that was nice about the cameras we had, what we were excited about, was that they shot in 16:9 ratio.
Yeah.
And that was cool to us because it no longer was a square like a regular television. It gave us the widescreen.
It looked like a movie.
Now it was cinematic.
I see.
Wow.
I see.
And it also shot at a 24 frame rate, kinda, because you could push it to 60 shutter speed of 60 frames, a shutter speed of 60, and that created this kind of cinematic look with these cameras, which looked nicer than regular video, and that's what gave us all a hard on about.
You see, that's at that time, you're like tweaking the camera and making it look like cinema and all this stuff. But if you're coming into the game right now, like I'm using this phone and I'm like, what are you talking about? It just looks right. You see? Like, that's what I'm saying. That history is very important to inform.
Yeah, they took what we did and said, this is what we want. Let's just make it they made it the default.
We were the first generation, or our time, I think, was it was the first time that the video that we were shooting looked as good as 16 millimeter film, which was a big deal because it cost a lot of money to develop that. So it made it accessible to us, and that was kind of our shtick. Is it was
huge. That was huge for us.
Yeah.
And then the next big huge thing in our generation for film stuff was the DSLRs, which is still cameras, because then that reopened the door for stop motion animation. Because now we as stop motion animators didn't have to rely on filming.
Yeah, see, that's wild to even think about. As you say it, and I've never done stop motion, idea, kind of like a flip boogie type thing, but that's wild. That innovation I could see how it would change the game. Could you tell me how it changes the game? Imagine I'm a child and I don't know anything.
Oh, it's basic. You'll get it in 1 second. So before so the first time people did stop motion, right? You looked through a camera, right? And you took a picture, right? Now you did all your moves, right? And you took that roll of film, you sent it to a lab, and they developed it. Then a couple days later, they mailed it back to you, or you picked it up, and you watched it to see if anything you did, you got right.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? Now, that process started in 1890, okay? That process continued, right? And through all the way up to 1972, maybe? You realize how long that is.
It's a long time. It's like 90 years, something like that.
That includes, 80 years. That's not just stop motion. That includes cell animation. All the Disney shit. All the Fleischer shit. All the animation you saw in the cartoons. All the Hanna-Barbera stuff. Right? All of it animated unseen.
Wow.
Filmed unseen. Don't know what you're getting. Taking pictures. Right? Taking pictures by looking through the keyhole, knowing that your lighting and your numbers are correct.
What?
Sending it to the lab, getting it back. If it wasn't correct, you have to reshoot it. So that was going on. And then in the 70s, they invented this thing called the lunchbox. Now, the lunchbox was able to take a video camera, right? A video camera. And it was able to capture a frame on the video camera. And they made it, the first one, they called it a lunchbox. It was literally made out of an old lunchbox, a metal lunchbox.
Yeah. Like Transformers on it.
And it just had, all it had was a few buttons. It could go forward, back, and record and play. Right? That's what it could do. And it could those were just buttons. And it could take a picture with that video camera, and then it could show you that picture, and then you can go back and forth and would record this memory. It would have, somehow it had a memory in it, right? And it would play it back for you. And so you had, for the first time ever, this way to see what you're actually animating before sending in your film to get developed. And this was a playback device, but it only did 400 and something frames. So when you got to 400 and whatever frames it was a weird number. But when you hit that number, it's dropped out. And maybe it was more than 400. Maybe the first one was 400. Maybe it finally got up to 900. It's been a very, very long time because I've seen a lunchbox. But there was a thing about that. That camera is not the camera that's taking your actual film footage. because you have a camera that's set up to take your actual shot. You can't have the same camera. You can't have two cameras in the same exact spot. It's impossible, right?
Right.
So you have to have that camera in a slightly different angle. So no matter what, you're still not exactly.
It's always an approximation.
Always an approximation, right? Now that's still happening all the way through. Imagine this: A Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas, they're using lunchboxes in order to know what they're shooting, right? It's not until the DSLR that we get closer to knowing what we're shooting in real time. And so now in the first like 2 years of these cameras coming out and people start figuring out stop motion, I get a gig to do an Offspring commercial and for their new album. And I hired this company that I heard is doing stop motion with DSLRs. And so we do a commercial with like that. And what we would do is we would put little spy cameras on the back of the camera, on the lens, on the eyepiece of the DSLR, a little spy camera, so that we could see what we were shooting.
That is wild. So super innovative stuff.
Yeah, that was right away because you still couldn't get a feed out of that camera. There was no feed coming out of the DSLRs back then. But we could still take as many shots as we want because it was all free. Because there was no developing film anymore.
It's
Game
true.
change. Yeah, that one.
Because we couldn't afford you couldn't afford to play the game. Now everybody can afford to play the game if they can afford a camera and a computer. But before that, it's like your base cost was hundreds of dollars to do 30 seconds.
Whoa. That's what I got to say. Subscriber Buck Mud says, guest has worked with Zap Mama. Respect.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, Buck Mud is one of our people that joins us here and there. Wow. Yeah, so these kinds of stories, I've never experienced. I've never shot film. I've never shot a quote unquote film with film. I don't know anything about it. I know nothing about it.
I have.
Yeah.
It is fun. It's fun. It's things you don't. A lot. It's a very much of a lost art. Like reloading your camera. That's a lost art, very much so. You do that blind. So you have to load your camera in a bag. You can't see it.
Oh, because you can't have light, right?
You can't have light, so you have to take the film that you just exposed. You have your hands inside a bag. It's a double layer bag, and you're taking the stuff out of the camera and you're putting it in a can and then taking a new roll and putting it in the camera and putting it all together, and then you can unzip the bag and take everything out. You do it blind. I know how to do it. I probably fumble a couple times, but it's probably like riding a bike. I probably fumble a couple times and then get it right.
Is there other than nostalgia? I mean, it sounds cool, but
yeah,
is there a reason? Is there a reason to film on film right now? What it reminds me of that movie Boogie Nights.
No, you know what? I think
they're like video.
Absolutely, there's still a reason to film on film, but maybe not at the same time. I really maybe not. No, there's no reason to film on film. There's no reason.
I see you and Ken being good friends. You guys have a similar cadence.
It's really not. There
so what is cool
moments. I mean, honestly, let's just face facts. AI is here, so there's no need to do anything.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Like, why bother? I mean, it's really.
I mean, I plan to do tons of stuff, but I really every time I think about it, oh no, I don't have to work that hard. That's right. I don't have to work that hard. AI is here. I can chill.
Unpack some of that for me. And Ken, I don't want to
no, it's don't. You got it.
Unpack some of that for me because
We'll just answer with what you just said. Is there any reason to shoot on film anymore? No, because I can film everything I want, and I don't have to do more than just go AI 16 millimeter.
And then what will happen?
16 millimeter will happen. It will make it all look 16 millimeter. Better than the original filters they made for all this work that they've worked so hard at making awesome filters. AI has learned so much from those filters already that it does it even better.
Okay, so here's a question.
So good at everything.
So here's a question.
So good at emulation. It's amazing.
If AI, we'll go context-wise, you guys were really, really excited, right, when the DSLR came out for the reasons you said. Imagine at that time if AI had been like dropped on you. Would you have had the similar, oh my God, DSLR is awesome. Oh my God, AI is awesome.
Oh my God, AI is awesome now.
Okay.
Why did it have to be then?
I see.
If it was then, it would have been super awesome. It's super awesome now. I don't get what.
So AI is awesome.
I'm not anti-AI. I'm super down with it. Oh, it's gonna destroy everyone's careers are over, but I'm super down with it.
I just got out to Los Angeles, man. Don't tell me that. I guess it's the truth, though. I just got out to Los Angeles.
Yeah, Bill's in LA.
Do what?
He builds in the in the valley to do acting.
To act?
That's what they say. Yeah.
Oh well, that's okay. I don't see that as necessarily disappearing, but things are changing for sure.
I would like it to appear first. It needs to appear first.
No, AI does some really killer stuff down there. It's just you can just have so much fun with it. It does things that are just make my life so much easier. Especially weird stuff.
It makes your life easier, but I mean, I've seen your art and I've seen your work, and you've definitely honed a style and a creativity. Is it because and I'm kind of clipping through some of your work that you've done over the years. You don't feel any, because what your animation that I'm playing right here was done 20 years ago.
So I got so injured that I can't. There's so much that I can't do anymore.
And this animation took 20 hours. It took a week. More than that. Or months even. And an AI can do something like this in a day or two.
Less. I can do this in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Buck Mudd was asking is he would like to hear your opinions on AI, regardless. Like,
but which?
Yeah. And I asked him like what.
You really gotta ask a specific question.
So, for a specific question I have, to give context, because I know Buck Mudd. He and Ken are contemporaries, so he was doing video and stuff and video capturing and that kind of thing around 2000, and whatnot. So he probably understands better than I do. How does AI, like, obviously it can generate things for you, tasks for you, but can you give me an example of how you would use it on a project today? Like what like the steps you would do? You'd be like, hey AI, make my project? No. Like how would you actually implement the tool?
So I've been using AI as a rotoscoping tool.
And what does that mean?
Mostly. Well, it's skinning. Imagine it, taking me, right, and turning myself into an elderly African American woman instead.
Hot. So that's rotoscoping. Now, does that mean that does that mean that like all of the lightsaber battles would have been very, very easy to do with AI? They rotoscope those, right? In Star Wars.
Oh yeah. They should be able to add that stuff now.
They could just
Yes. So they would be able to have a styrofoam pole, right? And have guys go like this with a styrofoam pole, and then take a brush, a digital brush, and go to that pole and go boom like this, and then AI will light that pole up perfectly.
So
and better than we would do it, and quicker and with more pizzazz. We would over a week and a half. It would take us forever to do it. We do a great job, but it would do a great job too. Much faster.
Much faster.
Where do you see these chats?
So
I'm trying to see where you're seeing.
Oh, go to YouTube. Go to
what? Oh,
I'll send you the link on Discord, and you can just click on it.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
So your commentary is that your message can get out faster, and you appreciate that. I might be putting words. Is that into your thought process? But that's kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah, I guess. I don't.
Easier and faster.
I don't have to work my body as much, and I like the outcome of a lot of the stuff that I've been getting at. Well, where am I? I just heard it, but now I don't see where you just sent that. Oh, here. Chat. No, that's not it. Where did you just send that? I don't hear you. Now you're muted.
Oh, you are muted.
Yeah, it's my bad. Discord's a big old bitch. Let's see. Do you see it now?
Why didn't you send it to me? So
I can send it.
I mean,
well, you know what the YouTube is. Oh my god! All right, here's. Oh, god damn it! Hold on.
Well,
Oh, I see. I found it now. Okay. Oh, and I go here.
All right, I'm sending it to everybody.
Yeah, send it.
I don't see the comment.
You don't see the chat?
Oh, you can.
Oh, I see it now. Oh, okay, I got it. I see.
Are you talking about our video?
Yeah. He wants to see the chat.
Oh,
he wants to see the live chat.
All right, gotcha.
The Buck Mud question. I was like, where's he seeing that?
Oh.
Yeah, Buck Mud says I got replaced by an application. He's talking about he used to do video encoding and capture it from the internet and all kind of, or he would capture. He can explain it better. He would take video and then
anything
that's
going to be manual labor. I'm sorry. That's yeah.
There's a movie called Fire and Ice, not the Song of Ice and Fire. Fire and Ice. It was in the early '80s, like one of those. You know what I'm talking about? And it was all rotoscoped, and it was so good.
Yeah,
it was so good, and amazing. And I don't think they did many of those. Now maybe we can
it's
do
a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It is
not anymore, man. Not anymore. It's all over.
But that's different too. Like I'm not even talking about that. It's. Hey Ken, can you show that one? I'd like to just even show more. It's more like the music video I just did for Harry Cloud.
Here's Harry Cloud.
Yeah,
Is
really
that on your,
good example.
On your YouTube?
Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
It's okay. It's a thin layer of slugs, but that's mine. No, that's not the one. That's
okay.
That's the original stop motion. So that's not the one.
That's a cool logo. That's really cool. Is it like an Erebos?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tawd is
Of
phenomenal.
slugs. Can you search Hairy Cloud, a thin layer of slugs
Yeah, I can.
on
I
YouTube?
can do that. Absolutely.
I love it.
And you'll see.
God is dead. Painting is dead. Manual labor is dead.
No one cares.
No one cares.
If there's a hell,
There's AI.
I'll see you there.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay. So, how do you use AI now? Can you give me an example, like a specific example?
Who's going there? No, Harry, Harry.
H-A...
Like a real name, Harry. Not
H-A-
like hair.
Did you spell it HAI?
Yeah, well, Harry Cloud.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of funny.
Yeah, that one.
Oh shit.
Okay.
So
So,
this is AI.
but it's
Jesus.
not. It's stop
What?
motion animation. It's clay.
That's
is.
clay.
So it's not
It's,
AI.
this is actually this is clay. This is soft clay.
That doesn't look like
Right.
clay.
It does not look like clay.
What in God's name is going on?
But it's
Yeah.
What?
skinned. It's rotoscoped. So it's all clay. It's soft
I see.
clay. And then I'll have Ken show you what it looks like before I put it through AI. But that's what I mean by rotoscoping. It's
What are you
skinning it.
using? What are you using? What's your AI factory?
I use Kyber.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
So
needs
what do
a.
you-
What the fuck? This is freaking me out. You ever done weed, man? Fuck. It's a birthday
Yeah.
cake. You guys continue. Ignore me.
It's mesmerizing. It's really.
There's a devil in a fruit cake.
Okay, so now if you go back to the other version, you'll see what it originally looked like.
So the original version is what was going on this one.
This one, yes.
This is the original.
And now this is what it looked like before I put it through AI.
All right, I got you.
Oh whoa. Is this a different part of the movie?
Yeah, it was a little different in the beginning.
I was gonna say. Oh, okay, so that does look like clay. That's also incredibly freaky.
But
So here it comes, the stuff that you saw.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a different
That
part.
was the face you started to see. Now
Lord.
here it comes.
And you do what? 12 frames a second
What?
with this?
24.
Do you do
That looks
24 frames?
pretty similar. That looks pretty
No,
similar.
I mean, do you?
It's
do you-
similar,
do
right?
you-
Now you can see the movement.
Yeah.
But it's skinned. So now you understand what that rotoscoping. So it's so amazing what AI can do. So that it could take these textures, this movement, and suddenly turn it into oysters and shellfish texture.
Right, right.
And so perfectly, and so perfectly, with so seamlessly, as if I had photographed, as if I had actually animated those oysters. It's mind-boggling to me still to this day. I don't understand how it does it.
What's
I couldn't-
interesting? Go on.
I couldn't fathom making that oyster shellfish animation. I don't know how I would go about making it in the first place.
Well, you probably wouldn't, right?
You couldn't go and get the shellfish. You get what, 20 minutes of working with it before it's the smell would make you sick, right? You're working under hot lights. You're gonna get ill doing that for too long. Can't do that. It's bad.
But see, you come at it from a practical point of view where you've done the physical work and are now using AI. Whereas
Exactly.
people like me and people that are younger than me, they're like, oh yeah, this is cool. Because they don't understand what it means.
Right. They
Right?
don't. And then there are people that are our generation, though, me and Ken's generation, that are petrified of this. That think it's stealing. They say to me, "Oh, AI is stealing." I'm like, "Okay, what part of this is stealing? Tell me. What is this stealing right here? Tell me how this is
appropriation of the shellfish, man. I'm just saying.
I know, like what I've
Stealing our souls.
Which part
Stealing
of
our
this,
dreams.
which part of this makes me a lazy filmmaker? Which part of this makes me a lazy artist?
Oh no, I don't think
You know,
I don't
like,
think
it's-
you're lazy.
No, it's
that's
not. It's not possible. You can't say it to me. It's and so this debate about AI is super out of control, and people do not know what they're talking about.
Well,
And what they're referring to is merely when someone types a simple phrase prompt into Midjourney and gets an image. That's what they think every AI means, and AI doesn't mean that. That's like 1% of what AI is.
What does AI mean?
AI is.
I mean, you're giving an example here, but
What does art mean?
okay. Well, Ken, what were you gonna?
I mean, how long? How many hours do you have, man?
We have
What does AI
an hour
mean?
before.
AI mean, what does a
We've
screwdriver
done 7
mean?
hours.
How many applications
We're-
is a screwdriver?
You're touching it with a pen. No pun
Do
intended.
you think it's
That's
like
right,
a paintbrush, basically, for you? Is this just just another element to?
It's just another app. It's like another part of the app. Another part of.
It's a tool.
It's a tool.
It's a tool. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a tool. I guess it's just another tool. It's just a part of what.
Sure.
This time I'm going to use this for this part of the process of getting my imagery to be the imagery that I need it to be to tell this story.
So,
Yeah.
one of the ideas, I said painting was dead. That's the famous thing, right? When the
Painting was
photograph, when photography came out, because painting was used as a form of photography, right? And then the printing press and photography came out, and people said they were mimicking. I think it's Nietzsche. God is dead. So they're mimicking this idea of being like, oh well, painting's dead, and of course it wasn't. You have photography, and there's plenty of bad photography, right? Well, the thing is, though, how do we know what is good photography and bad photography? How do we know what is good usage of AI as a tool and bad usage of AI as a tool? Are we there yet? Do we have the context to be able to make that?
Well, one thing about
Qualification.
this argument is you can totally take it to, and I'm waiting for the painters to be around me again to have this conversation, because I want to tell them, man, you should be enjoying this moment, because what did photography do to the painters but create hyper realistic painters, which we didn't have before, right? We had painters that painted people's portraits that looked like those people, right? But now, have you seen what painters do? Like, there are painters that paint like stuff that look like photographs, that like you can't tell the difference between a painting and the photograph, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, that's how hardcore your skill got because the photograph exists.
What's
So
interesting?
AI is gonna push some of those skills so hardcore. It might be amazing what the skills become because of what AI is going to push you to.
What's interesting, that is interesting. I hadn't thought about that idea. It necessitates.
I mean, think about some of those. Think about all those. Like, you go on Instagram. Like, it blows my mind nowadays. The amazing perspective art and perspective, even the chalk art that people do on the street, right? You see that stuff
like the
on
3D
Instagram.
stuff.
Yeah, like, do you ever remember a time in your life that you ever saw any of that shit done?
No.
No. But nowadays, it's like everyone's got these skills like crazy. Why? Because we pushed it so much. The technologies have got our brains able to do this shit at rapid fire. People are all over the place able to do it. Used to be MC Escher could do it. Now fucking everyone's fucking able to do this shit. It's like MC Escher ain't nothing anymore. Big deal, MC Escher. Joe down the street did it on the fucking sidewalk.
Well, and here's an idea too. Like, so you're talking about painters and how photorealistic they can be, for example. And you can look at
all the shit that they're doing now.
You can look at the sidewalk and be like, holy shit. However, why do that? Now, let me add something to this question. Is it worthwhile to use film to make a movie? Is it worthwhile to paint when you could just take a photograph? Why would you ever paint and be like, oh my God, I thought it was a photograph?
Oh no,
Why
because for that person, because it's fun.
Mm.
Now, there's nothing worthwhile about shooting on film.
Now, why is that?
Well, because it costs a lot of money.
But so does painting something like, you know, as in the analogy I'm trying to make is you can do something very, very simply, let's say with AI, and you can get the same results.
Yeah, I guess you can, but I'm thinking more on the lines of the whole film as an object is an elitist game. Okay? It's just not something you can compare to painting. It's just get it out of your head.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, do it.
Yes.
Make this
it's an
argument.
elitist game. It's not a poor man's game. It's not. Okay. One of the Robert Rodriguez, right, is a perfect example of somebody who's proved it's not a poor man's game because he fucking had to sell his soul, his fucking body for science to make his fucking movie, right? Like, come on, it's not a poor man's game. It costs a lot of money to rent a film camera. It costs a lot of money to rent the gear to use when you have a film camera. Not like a video camera. So it's not like comparing, no. But everybody can make a movie with a phone.
I keep telling that to Bill. I'm like, you know, just go out, have a good script, do good, you know, make sure your performance is on point. It doesn't matter. I mean, use your iPhone 4. Use your iPhone 2 if it still works.
Yeah, everyone has a phone.
Your iPhone 2 is better than my fucking $4,000 video camera from, you know, 1996. It's just like, it's better.
Buck Mudd asked a few questions. He says, I feel that a talented person will be able to get more from AI. It's like when T-Pain sang all his hits using vocal correction. People didn't know the dude can sing like crazy without any help. Not anybody can use AI to get what Todd just showed us. You still have to know what you're doing. You still have to be good. He says, I want to meld with AI, join with Feature and Ascend.
Well, no, you had to have I made the stop motion, which was really good. And then I put it in AI. I just had the idea of what to do with it.
But the stop motion is wild looking. To be honest, like when Ken showed the original, I mean, that's badass. Not to like blow smoke up your ass, but like that's really cool. And I like it more than the AI version.
Well, that's okay.
And the reason is, I mean, who cares what I think? But the reason is when I see AI stuff and I recognize that it's AI stuff, or when I hear a narration on YouTube and I realize, boom, that's AI, or I think it's AI, I am immediately disinterested. Now, your stuff I'm not, because I was like, oh my God, those are selfish and they're fucking gross and stuff. But like, there's something that maybe it's just been, the internet's been inundated with the same kinds of uncanny valley AI stuff.
But that's what it is. But it is that. But that's why for me right now, it's a little fun. Like, I'm not a disruptor guy. like I don't like that term disruptor, but I do like to play a bit of a trickster with my art. I do like to put my audience in a seat of wonder of you not knowing what you might have just experienced or how you got there. Right? Like you just don't know. How did that get made? What was it that he did that made, like, how was that made? How did that guy make that? Wait, there was only one guy that made that? Is that possible? Is that really possible? Like, I like putting people through that wonder. Ken knows that about me. Like, it's yeah. Other filmmakers don't, they're kind of like, I made a movie, it's a movie. My movies tend to have a little bit more wonder of like, this might be something else going on here too.
You should make a Smurf movie. Like a real one. Because the Smurfs are cool, man. Like, you could make the Smurfs all like dark and shit.
I like this one.
Written. I mean, the Smurfs are fine, but
Like a real Gargamel.
It's like, I think there was a live.
John Lithgow could play Gargamel,
isn't it? Isn't that a thing? Or they did a live-ish?
I'm sure they did. Probably did. I want to be a campy. I want to be like Cthulhu.
It's already happened. You know, make your own, like the Durfs or the Dingoids or the Quizats or
The Dingoids. The Quizats.
I don't know. I guess I got Dune in my head for some reason.
Hey, speaking of, Todd, what did you think about Dune?
I didn't see Dune. I saw Dune .5.
Which one was that?
That was the first half of Dune 1.
Oh, what'd you think of it? I've only seen the first
I
part.
I saw the first half of Dune 1. Shouldn't that answer your question?
So you were like, I'm done.
Long. He thought it was very long and nothing happened.
I was like, oh, I saw this movie, is what I said.
Was there at any point where you're like, how'd they do that?
Well, no, because it's like there's if you know the story of certain movies or stories, there is only so much knowing the story you can see again and again. And I don't need to see it again because I know the story. And I was young when I saw Dune, and I really loved it because I was young when I saw Dune, the first one, and it was really weird, and they popped that guy's zits, and it was super friggin' rad. And I was a little younger before that. I didn't know who David Lynch was yet, so that's like first David Lynch for Todd, and then I get to know who David Lynch is, and so now I'm back to watching Dune probably like 2 or 3 more times in my life back then, you know? So now Dune comes out, and I'm like, I've seen this like fucking 5 times. I don't need to watch this story again, so I don't have an answer. I'm not.
Well, I mean, to me, the Dune movie was like the story of Dune, but with like less stuff. So it was pretty.
Was it? Was it less?
Yeah, but it was just less. It's like, let's cut out like all the story elements, all the details. It was like Dune light. It was pretty.
Oh, that's no good. That's not even good.
And the thing that the reason that it's done this way, I sent Bill an article the other day. It's because people are looking at their phone. So you've got a 6-hour-long movie. Like most of the people that are watching this film are looking at their phone. So if you make it too complicated of a story, they're not even there. They're not there. You know, whatever is happening on Twitter is good. And then, you know, the big explosion or the big bump comes in and they look up and they're like, oh, that's neat. And
well,
then
it's
they
not
get
Twitter.
back.
It's not Twitter because, you know, there's not enough moving images on Twitter that you have to actually read.
Not Twitter, but, you know, it's a Instagram.
The doom scroll crap.
TikTok.
Well, and here's the thing is, okay, so Todd, social media is obviously a thing.
Yes.
Right? And it's I don't know if I'm correct anytime I talk, but I act like I am. When it comes to social media, it seems like it's big enough a thing to where it's pushing people with money to make decisions. So what I'm trying to get at is with AI and its usage, it seems like a lot of AI is going to be used with social media. For example, to make Instagram videos or music on YouTube and this kind of stuff. Do you have any sort of precepts as how AI maybe not should be used, could best be used, could best be leveraged? I'm looking for structure here.
I don't know how to answer that.
Like, people can just stand by it.
I think the beginning of that question was odd because I don't think anything you said was any different than anything's ever been. And people want to think that things are different than they've ever been, but they really aren't. They go social media, but social media act like news stations or newspapers acted when they had opinions or Reader's Digest. So they just have more of that. So money ran that, money runs social media. So it's really just more of the same.
I think it's a good point that the money concept, because it's like anybody can be a painter, but you know, or what the buy-in is, what, $50, $100, like $150 to be a painter. To be a filmmaker, you need to somehow convince at least 2 or 3 other people. You need a camera that costs more than paint supplies, and believe me, an iPhone 4 is still going to cost more than your paint supplies, $50.
I don't know nowadays. I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm going. There's I think is a pretty.
Although I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited only in that it is all at our fingertips for the first time, everybody's fingertips. So we all get to make a lot of stuff, and that's really kind of enriching for the first time.
And so basically people are watching Instagram filmmakers and everybody's,
which is kind of interesting.
And
it would be, I would like to see more people use that outlet or narratives more so though. We all have our own little TV channels now, and we're not really kind of using it for that as much as we can. I want to try to start doing that more now that I have my space.
Do you see filmmakers like yourself, you know, making weird content that is avant-garde, that is unique, that isn't reflective of the norm? And where do you see that?
I don't know. I feel I don't know. I kind of feel alone in that world, but I don't know if it's that we're actually alone or if we're just in our little burrows and don't realize we're all just stuck in our little burrows. And is it that there's nobody really putting on avant-garde festivals, so no one knows that there's a community out there showing the real avant-garde films?
Bill made a film last summer called Double Brothers Double Trouble that was very avant-garde. How many festivals?
No one gets it.
Yeah, it was basically supposed to be like a video game, and everybody's
Now Ken says that I made this thing. I filmed it and wrote it, but really Ken made the video game with Gouchfire made it. We'll send you a copy if you want to see it. He also did the score for it. I think it's fucking hilarious and awesome. But we sent it to a bunch of places and they were like, just didn't understand or thought it was trash, including our home fucking festival. Those bastards.
If you can't get in at home, but that was my biggest complaint with the home festival. If you can't get it at home, it's like, why? Where's the community? Like, why?
It's tough. That's tough.
So this tangent.
The curse of life is coming into like stuff at an older age, as opposed to when we all had so much more energy at a younger age. Like having the studio here at this age as opposed to when we were 25 or 30 and we're like, let's stay up for 18 hours every day making like 50 movies at a time. Yeah, it's harder now.
If you had AI in 2002, can you even imagine the amount of content your backstory? If you had 4K and AI and you were like, everything was fast because it wasn't fast.
I know.
Rendered
it was so slow. Remember how slow everything was back then?
It's like you watch the fucking bar and it just sits there. It just sits there. That fucking bar doesn't.
People don't know that. People don't realize what that was. They don't know those hours, days. Sometimes it would be days you'd wait for a render.
Now, if I want to play an effect, I mean, like, here's the effect. It's just like boop, ba-doop, boop, boop, effect. Done.
So I had a couple things. I wanted to check the chat. Okay. You kind of said it. This idea of social media is like newspapers back in the day. I'm thinking of like an Ayn Rand newspaper, like yellow journalism. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Or are you talking about something much more contemporary?
Well, both, but yes.
I think that's. I don't want to use the word profound, but it's definitely insightful, and it's kind of what I was getting at. The idea of in today's world, in today's schema, social media is like, let's say, the yellow page journalism. It's very commercial. From my perspective, everyone's trying to get YouTube famous, or everyone's trying to get Instagram famous. And so it's this constant, I'm trying to sell myself. Myself is the commodity. I'm the commodity. I'm not making art. I'm selling myself. I'm selling my time. The gig economy. Everything I do is trying to sell something. I'm trying to sell everything that I possibly do. And if I can't sell it, or if I can't win the popularity game, it's not worthwhile.
And who invented that?
I don't know.
Andy Warhol.
Pop art. Yeah.
Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol created that. Andy Warhol created the YouTube influencer. Andy Warhol created the Instagram influencer. All this shit that people complain about is all from that guy. Get it through your heads, guys.
Do you like Andy Warhol?
He created it. The 15 minutes of fame. He calls you the celebrity.
I see.
He puts you in front of the camera. It was all his game. He was one of the greatest American con men of art. You have to really look at who Andy Warhol was, what he was doing in the factory. No one else was allowed to be an artist in Andy Warhol's circle. Only Andy Warhol was the artist. Everybody else was in his pictures. Everybody else was in front of the camera. Andy Warhol was behind the camera. Andy Warhol made you the celebrity. Andy Warhol made you think that you were influencing everybody else, but it was Andy Warhol that was pulling all of the strings.
Andy Warhol was the king, and you guys did all of his bidding for him, and it continues to this day. And Mark Zuckerberg is Andy Warhol, and the influencers are doing Andy Warhol's bidding each and every day. They don't make content. They just sit in front of the camera, just like Andy Warhol taught everybody to do, because Americans are suckers, all of them.
So here's a question. AI,
It's just that
from what you just said, how can people best utilize AI? Now, there may not be a connection there. I'm hoping there is. AI is a tool.
Which
How can
people?
it be used?
But what do you want?
That
what
is- that
question
is- that
are
is-
you asking. But what do
that
you
is-
ask? Who are you asking for, and what are you asking about? Is the question.
I can sue.
Nope, you can't. You can't do it.
Can't.
You can.
But
can't do it.
initially, what is your thought? No, I can.
Break up on us.
Listen.
You try, but
I
you
know I
can't.
seem. I know I seem.
No, you
I
froze.
know I
You
seem like an
froze.
unbiased person. I am pushing an agenda right now. We'll get to my agenda in a minute.
We don't know what you said because you froze. And
Yeah, you
so
did
we're
I?
gonna have to say it again.
Yeah,
Did I
yeah,
froze?
yeah,
Did I really
Yeah.
freeze?
yeah. You gotta do it again.
So it was
When
funny
did
because
I
it was
freeze?
probably in context.
Something like this.
As soon as you went into it, you went, and then you go shoot.
And we're like, no, you can't.
No, you can't.
Oh no! Oh no! It was glorious. It was glorious. Lost to the ages. It's
Yeah,
forever.
you can't.
What did I say? Where did
I don't know.
I don't know. It was the point.
No,
it
I'm
was the
trying-
point
I was
behind the whole
just
thing.
I mean, utilizing AI is just like it's. I don't. It just doesn't seem. It's weird because it seems so basic, and yet I'm having a hard time expressing how, in such a simplistic way, to answer that question. Just
So 24 years ago, or whenever we met, it was about 20-ish years ago. You were pushing, I think it was Philip K. Dick. I think you were into a couple other, some other stuff. Do you think, did you expect this? Did you see any of this in our lifetime as filmmakers at that point in time? Or is this development surprising?
it's surprising because I didn't think we would ever bother with it. Yeah, I
Bother
didn't
with
think
what?
it was generative AI. I didn't think that was on our radar as anything of any real worthy aspiration for humankind. I still don't really think it is much of a
Why would-
worthy aspiration. Generative AI, I don't really see generative AI as anything worthy. Mid-Journey, Stable Diffusion, it's all just fun and games for me.
What is for the audience and for me, honestly, because I don't use AI much. What is generative AI?
Generative, the stuff that makes the pictures and animation.
But you do use it. I mean, if I didn't use some AI in our
You use it. I don't use it.
yeah, but you use it.
You're the Andy Warhol, and I'm
It
just
doesn't
the
matter.
content
You still use it by proxy, and that's the thing is that you benefit.
I was
and
born into it.
experience.
It's my privilege.
Yeah, it happens either way. You're in it.
I get it. Okay, so let me redefine the question because perhaps the AI question is a little bit vapid. I just wanted to see what I could get out of it. I see a lot of people using generative AI, and I see it in two camps. One, it's to get views on YouTube. So it's a bunch of cool thumbnails, or like we'd mentioned, audiobook type stuff, narration. You know, it's the exactly 10-minute, 11-second video that the algorithm for YouTube needs, and it's all done through AI and some random story that's going to get a bunch of views. I see that version, and then the other way that I see it is kind of the way that maybe artists use it, kind of like what I've seen with yours now, and what I see with Ken when he does it for the Red and Into Space, the two campaigns we run on Mondays. That's it. That's what I see of AI. The way I use it personally is with programming. I'll be like, hey, what's the sort method in Python? And it'll be like, here's some syntax. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? So I can use it in I could get the same exact information if I looked up a few different websites.
Sure.
Right.
Of course.
But with AI, it's like, it's right there. It's a dictionary that I can talk to. That's how I use it. But when it comes to generative AI, I guess my question is, you guys being people that use it and use it as a tool to create, I'm trying to farm your opinions and use that as kind of like a standard, because you're using it to literally create. So how can people use it to create? There's my question.
This is just another piece of the puzzle. It's just an assistant.
So just use it as you do.
No,
just use it as you do.
With coding, when you do coding, when you need a little bit of coding, you know what to ask for. You know how to ask the thing, oh, write me this to do this little command line run. And like it's probably similar in nature. It's not going to do it for you. You've got a task ahead of you. You don't want to spend hours doing it. So the fast thing to do is just write me this little bit of code to do this one problem that I have.
It's like a calculator. Except it's like a calculator, except you're doing something that you have to do in your head.
The difference between Tawd and I are, like, if you ever see my artwork and Todd's artwork, is Tawd draws things, specific things that are interesting. He's got a style of creativity. Mine is very abstract. So the difference to me is, like, I'm surprised how much Tawd embraces it, because he's got an incredible skill at drawing. I've seen him draw in real time, in real life, and it's phenomenal. And so I don't see AI creating stuff like I create. It can't yet. I mean, I'm sure it could at some point, but not in the style and in the sense that, but I see colorful, poppy, beautiful imagery that, and interesting, that much of what Tawd has done over time.
I mean, but I do have my tendonitis and my fibromyalgia has really put a damper on my drawing. I can make my puppets still, and I can do stop motion pretty good still, but I have trouble. I can draw, but I can't draw for long periods of time, and sadly, that what a long period of time is less than a minute.
So
I can't hold a pen for I can only hold it for about 45 seconds, and then I have to take a break for a few minutes, and then I can hold it.
So I want to talk about a few things dealing with that, because it's obviously something that it affects your life, and it sounds like it's due to the art you've been creating for a long time.
Yeah, very much so.
So I'm going to start with a wild tangent, and we're going to get back to it. Have you seen The Adventures of Mark Twain? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I'm sorry?
Stop motion?
Yeah.
Claymation? Yes. Yeah.
What is your opinion of it?
It's a phenomenal work.
I saw a clip. It's how I know anything about it. It's the one where they talk to, I keep on going biblical. This one where they talk to Lucifer. And it's this huge philosophical departure. Anyway, my point, that stop motion and how it's like, it can be gory. It's wild to me how, like, clay and little cartoon dudes and stop motion can actually elicit, feelings of wonder, but also disgust. Such. Other than it just being good, do you have any opinions on that kind of thing?
Well, that's what I like about stop motion. Stop motion is real visceral. It's you're experiencing things that are completely unimaginable. And not unimaginable because they are painted, right? Because when you see something painted or drawn, your brain can believe it. Because it's unimaginable. It's painted, it's drawn. It didn't really exist, so it's unimaginable. So you believe it. But when you see a toy move around, a little sheep like that, this is unbelievable. None of this is supposed to be happening. This isn't real. This can't be happening. Your brain just can't fathom it. And so it's so magical and visceral at all times. No matter who you are, your brain is taken by it. And it's just
this is stop motion. And
yeah,
that brings me to another idea that's sprung up in my mind. When I watch stop motion, everything you just said rings true. As in, I look at it and I accept it and I say, whoa, what the hell? And it's very interesting and all these things. However, it doesn't have the uncanny valley that a lot of digital art does. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like certain, and specifically video, they did, Ken, you mentioned it, I think the last GG, the Final Fantasy movie, Spirits Within, which was awesome. But there's, when people were trying to use digital art to make realistic people, and you have that uncanny valley that it's not wonder inspiring, it's unnerving.
right.
And stop motion doesn't seem to have that. So what's the difference?
Why doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you might not know this answer. I don't know. I figured you might be more qualified than I am to answer it. I just think it's interesting.
I think
the
it's
eyes.
interesting as well. It's definitely, I'm looking at the Spirits Within 2001. I mean, we've definitely come a long way, but at the time, I think people were pretty like, "Whoa, that's so amazing!"
Phenomenal at the time.
And now it looks kind of like a sort of a cheesy video game, and they're doing what they can to kind of in this trailer to cut away quickly because it doesn't
You can absolutely tell
a lot of animation at that time. I can go really deep. I want to go back into the history of Todd and Ken.
Yeah,
and I actually have this Bruce Bickford business card that he gave me.
Oh yeah,
from a million years ago, and I'm very happy that I still have this. What do you think Bruce would think about AI? I mean, because we went to his house and we saw
Bruce he wouldn't have cared. He just said it wouldn't have been for him, and he doesn't see any point in doing it.
Who is Bruce?
Bruce Bickford was a stop motion animator. He was one of the greatest stop motion animators ever.
And you don't think he would use?
He would not have. He just would have found no interest in it. Not good or bad. He just would not have found an interest in it. And that's just his personality. It would have been. He just wouldn't have found an interest in it, and you would have tried to ask him more, and he just wouldn't. Why are we talking about this? He just wouldn't care. He just wouldn't care. He only talks about what he just only talked about what he wanted to talk about, and he just wouldn't have been interested in it.
Okay, so what about your art has caused these physical ailments?
Oh, it's constant fine motor skills. It's just so much small movement, overreaching movements, a lot of straining, a lot of construction, a lot of punching over. A lot of that.
Just for a lot of that.
A lot of that. A lot of hours of it.
Is there a way?
Hours.
Well, I don't know any stop motion people other than you, and now this Bruce person. Did he experience the same kind of things?
No, Bruce didn't, but he didn't necessarily. He may not have worked as much as me.
Well, he worked. He probably didn't dive into it. Like you would go for 24 hours, and he probably.
Bruce was a normal
amount of time.
Yeah, Bruce would do a normal amount of time. Tawd never did a normal amount of time.
And
I'd like to do a lot of time.
Yeah,
I like doing lots of time.
It sounds like you're in love with the process.
I did, and then I used to do a lot of filming too. So like Bruce did a lot of, I did a lot of stuff. More or less, people choose you tend to choose an art form, right? Yeah, people have a lot of art forms. Some people are filmmakers and musicians and whatnot, right? But you don't find a lot of people who do hand-drawn animation, stop-motion animation, writing, like real writing. So I write novels as well.
Oh,
and I write lots of screenplays, and I film, and I camera operate, and I seriously camera operate as well. And I paint, and I do murals. So I do these things consistently all the time. So it wasn't like I was just using my body for one of those activities a lot. I'm using my body for all of those activities a lot. So if I wasn't doing stop motion, suddenly I'm in the middle of a swimming pool with a really heavy camera gear on my back, filming skateboarders coming at me at 65 miles an hour, right? And I'm doing those kind of shoots. And then 2 days later, I'm in a stop motion room animating small little toys, right, for 2 weeks. And then I'm hunched over animating illustrations, right? So that's the kind of lifestyle I was living. And there's no consistency in that. And that's a lot of physical human abuse to your body in very large ways. And that's what I was doing. And like the camera stuff is so, and I didn't operate cameras it wasn't like I just had a camera here. I used to do odd things where I used to hold cameras. I used to palm my camera and use my arm as a jib. So I would reach out over pool edges like this and follow skateboarders. This is not good. None of this is very good for you because you're holding like a 60. That's a DSLR is like 30 pounds with the lens adds another 10 pounds. It's like 40 pounds you're holding over, and I'm doing this like I'm like a robot. I was quite excellent at it. My skateboard stuff is quite excellent, and it looks like I'm on a jib and a crane, but it's not. It's all handheld.
wow.
So
don't do that if you.
So don't do that. Don't do that. Everyone needs a person like
ergonomics is important.
Yeah, everyone needs a person in to have done that in their life. To know, wow, he was awesome. Destroyed his life though.
No.
Camera work was great. Can't do it ever again.
Is it possible for? I mean, obviously, the way that you used to do it is not possible, but is something like AI able to allow you to achieve something similar?
Different. Just a different.
Just a different tool. Just a different.
Yeah. I just make things in different ways now. I find different ways to make stuff.
Right.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Film festivals. I wanted to ask you about film festivals.
No, don't ask me.
I'm asking you about film festivals. I'm on this website called Film Freeway. Apparently, it's the only website you can use to submit to film festivals, which is weird. It's weird. It's weird for a monopoly like all the film festivals I've seen use Film Freeway. All of them. I haven't seen a single one. In fact, if you don't use Film Freeway, they're like, "Well, that's not right." It's amazing because usually, I mean, how many social media platforms? Usually, there's multiple ways. So I'm on Film Freeway, looking at film festivals, and Todd, it seems like most are fucking scams. Thoughts?
Yeah. They're all scams.
That seems about right.
So what's the incentive? I want someone to see my film, Nocturne.
They're not.
Which
I don't
can
know.
direct
No, I shouldn't say they're all scams because I'm sure there's a few of them that have some people that really care about showing the movies and really want to show movies to audiences and care about showing those movies to audiences. But other than those few, the whole fucking thing is a scam. And I tried it before, and I finally tried it again, and I regret that I decided to try it again.
How did you try it before, and then when you tried it again,
I tried it before by entering a ton of film festivals with my first movie to pretty much not much of avail. And then didn't try that for a very long time until last year with Celio, thinking, well,
right.
you know what, maybe this would be an interesting since the particular story I told was so what I thought was as real as it could get and maybe as poignant as it could kind of get right now in our time, that maybe I'll get in a festival based on the merit of storytelling, you know, because this was a serious one.
Yeah.
And regretfully it did not. And out of the 20 festivals that I submitted to, I got rejected by each and every one of them. And wow, that was a hard pill to swallow for a film that was expensive. Yeah, and it's a serious movie, man. I mean, this is a movie that's like really supposed to get you thinking about our social environment, our climate environment, and people don't want to put this one up. I mean, that's sad. It's sad. This is a serious drama. This is a serious story, and this was not like a silly bag of money movie. It's very sad that this did not get in anything.
The AI, the animation looks really interesting in it.
And the AI is really interesting, and it's the first of its kind because I made it last year when I made it with Runway and Kyber when they first came out. The first time you could skin anything with AI video. And this is the first time you could ever do it. The first month that shit came out, I'm like, dude, I'm going. And I'm popping in clips into these apps and I'm making the files and I'm reskinning my clips so that I can make this movie. And I made a 1 hour movie in the first 3 months that these programs ever existed. Ever. So I know no one did it before me because I was doing it the first 3 months it even came out. A whole 1 hour movie. Who could do that? I was already on it. So the idea that I couldn't get into one festival with a serious story and being the first one to ever make something like that, you know it's a scam. I don't know what kind of scam. I don't know what they're scamming, but it's something.
Not to sound like Donald Trump, but it's rigged.
So I mean, I do like on your website that and I've seen the Anna Cabrini Chronicles, and we had an adventure on that film. Todd invited me on a very lovely experience to follow him around while he made his own film festival circuit, which I thought was brilliant. I mean, why not?
Yeah, that was good. That was smart of us to do that.
But I like the Anna's very skeptical film festival rejection reasons that you wrote on your website. The Anna Cabrini Chronicles is as powerful as El Topo and A Clockwork Orange combined. If you made a romantic comedy as good as Anna, then I would have let you in Cannes in a second. Even if it's your first feature ever, you upset me for 2 weeks. So this is the Cannes film rep, Tatiana, from that time saying,
Yeah.
It was upsetting. It was an intense film. It was
worthy of not being shown at the festival. Is what it was.
At the Cannes Film Festival. I mean, but the brutality and what the way you kind of got into the mindset of these people.
I know.
There was a woman, there was a kid, there was a man, I think. I can't remember the woman. She had pain, a constant pain. And this mind you is at a time when people didn't care about depression. This is early 2000s.
People didn't care. No, mental illness was not a conversation.
Not a conversation.
It was not. It was not like today where everyone's like, oh, we need to do something about mental illness. This was a time when people were like, you really want to talk about that? Yes, I do really want to talk about that. Maybe you don't want to talk about suicide. No, I think we need to talk about suicide. Maybe you don't want to talk about it. That was, this was a time people didn't talk about it. We talked about it. So, do you remember, Ken? Do you remember when we were on that tour and we went to Eugene?
Yeah. Oh, it was brilliant. I loved you. I mean,
that was the show. It was almost a sold out show.
Yeah.
That one, and we were interviewing people outside, and there was a girl who went on to IMDb afterwards and wrote a scathing review. Do you remember that? Oh, you don't remember? Okay, so
no, I don't think I've seen. I'm gonna go on IMDb right now and find that scathing review if I can.
She went on and she wrote a really scathing review.
You got it. Is it the first off? Oh yeah, no, I got it. I got it right here. She wrote, first off, I live in Eugene, and the director was showing a screening in a small theater here, filming all of our reactions as we left the theater, as if he expected a big look of shock in all of our faces.
Okay. No. So anyway, you don't have to read it out loud. So the moral of the story is a couple years ago, I get an email from her apologizing, telling me that she went and she lost someone to suicide.
Yeah.
She went back and rewatched the movie and felt so bad at her stupid young 18-year-old self for writing me that bratty comment, and that she really, really respected the movie and wanted me to know that we made a good movie and she was sorry. Isn't that nice?
And she still didn't change her comment on IMDb. That stayed.
That's whatever. Maybe she couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's hard to, like you can't delete or do that. They make it.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, man, like, because she didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? She didn't have to go and try to find me and like apologize for that.
True.
So I thought that was nice of her. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I'm glad that happened. Because she was bitchy, real bitchy.
And even just kind of knowing, I feel like I was relatively advanced as a human then.
Yeah.
Thinking and being and having the feelings that I had then, but looking at some of this imagery of what you've kind of shot at the time and like where the characters were. I mean, it's visually intense, but like the direction, a lot of the commentary, a lot of what was said during it is so powerful. And I think you really did an amazing job in getting into the headspace of these different people that, I still have a copy of it downstairs. I still have the DVD. I got some art of yours around here somewhere that you gave me. But I think it was well done, and it was done. This was what, 2006. This was and it was done for it was not. It was time consuming, I'm sure, but it was the first of its kind to be done in digital. And it's amazing to me looking at this even today, how so much of it, the processing, the time that you took, kind of looks like AI today. I mean, as weird as that sounds.
There's things that it caught up with me. The collage style of filmmaking caught up, and people caught up with me. I was like, I don't like to like pat myself on the back, but if you looked at that, if you really step back and go, wait, this was 2006, and you start to look at movies starting around 2012 and TV shows 2012 and on, you'll notice there's a lot of stuff that's very reflective of the Anna Cabrini Chronicle. Not to say people saw my shit. It's not like everybody saw my shit. I didn't impact the world that much. But I was definitely
on the forefront.
Yeah, I was onto something that people hadn't picked up on yet.
Go on, sorry.
Good.
I got a question. Have you seen the movie Waking Life, and what did you think about it?
I love it.
Great movie.
It was earlier than that. It was surely a 90s movie. I'm assuming 96. I don't 100% know.
It was
maybe.
They used After Effects. It was probably the first time they ever used After Effects.
Took me 3 sittings to get through that movie.
Yeah.
And not because I disliked it. It just, I had to sit down and think. After about a third, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go think on this for a couple days. I'm gonna come back.
They did that Philip K. Dick film after that.
Yes. Yeah.
With what's his name? And I think that came out at about the time we were hanging out.
Scanner Darkly.
Scanner Darkly.
It's almost dream stuff. So when I see AI produced, when I see AI type films, it's difficult for me to get into it the way that most people do it, because it seems non sequitur in kind of a kitschy art way. Like when, I'm a painter, that's what I went to school for. And so, every 90% of the painters that went through, they were like, I'm going to talk about myself. And they have a painting, and somewhere in the first few paintings they do is a mirror. And it's like, why is there a mirror there? In the critique you ask, why'd you put a mirror? And they're like, oh, because it's like you. It's like introspection. And you're like, oh my God. And then like, I'm going to cancel myself really quick, but this is something I experienced in art school. You paint what is on your mind and what's so important to you. For example, if it's a girl, then hands down, there's going to be a point where she's painting her vagina. Period. That will happen. There will be a big painting of a vagina. It's like, why? Well, because it makes sense why, right? And if it's a dude who's gay, it's going to be a bunch of dicks every time. So what I'm trying to say is it's something that people get through as early artists, the sort of obvious thing, right? For a straight guy, I was like, here's a bunch of relationships and pills, whatever the fuck. You get through that stuff and then maybe start making art afterwards, or actually you work at a coffee shop and never talk about art again. But it seems with a lot of AI, maybe it's in the infancy stage because I see a bunch of the same shit. It's boring. The films that I see are non sequitur, just kind of art filmy. What the fuck are you saying? Anything? When I see some of your stuff, though, at least the little bit that I've seen, it seems like there's an actual narrative going on.
Well, I'm a storyteller, so that's probably why. I'm telling you a story. Celio is a movie. It's a 60-minute story about a guy who is trying to plant a plant, literally. Find the best place to plant this very special plant. And that's it's a whole story about that. So it's like there's dialogue and talking, and so it's like a story. So
it's
people don't, but people aren't taking that time. They're just futzing around with AI, kinda. I don't know. I don't know if I got into the AI fest, the big runway AI fest. Maybe I got into that. Maybe I didn't. They should announce it any day now. I mean, if I didn't get into that, oh well. I mean, I can't blame. I can't say it's because of AI. I can't be like, well, they didn't like my AI. I mean, they just didn't like that movie.
Well, there's actually the question I was going to ask is, I wonder if AI, when you submitted this initially, if AI was a barrier.
Could have been.
Yeah,
because people don't know what to think about it.
They thought they took the approach of, oh, this is going to take my job. I mean, it does. It does. I mean, I don't have a staff of 10 people that I couldn't afford doing art. I don't have that.
It very well could have.
But it's certainly, the difference between AI for me now and the past is that I have the ability to create images faster. But I don't just pull the AI out direct. You modify it, you make it your own, because what it spits out is kind of like fish. To me, it's not.
Well, it looks like a filter. One of my teachers back in the day, a woman named Heather Freeman, she was teaching a digital media class, and she was like, yeah, so this is the Gaussian blur. Like, Gaussian blur. I later figured out what Gaussian meant, but anyway. She said, listen, huh?
I always thought it was Gaussian.
It's fine. It's a big word. And the idea of everybody uses this. Understand everybody uses it. The thing is, you have to make it your own, because she said, the moment you just throw the Gaussian blur on something, everyone's going to know it. And you don't want that. You don't want, they use the Gaussian blur. Right, great. Good on you. You need to actually use it, utilize it as something. I thought of it akin to going back to pop art. You got a big canvas and you're like, a bucket of red paint. Red paint. See what I mean? That can work once. What is it called? Ceci, what was it? Ce n'est pas une pipe ceci. Like the painting, or like the jar that has a turd in it. Like, it works once. The toilet works once. But then afterwards you have to do something with it. Right? Brillo pads only worked so long. Andy Warhol was not allowed in Canada with that show. where he had like his Brillo pads and the big soup can and all that crap. Because they were like, he got to the Canadian, this could be an urban legend. Supposedly, he got to the Canadian border and they were like, what do you declare? And he was like, hey, there's a bunch of artwork. And they were like, Mounties in the fucking red and like horses and shit. They were like, that's a Brillo pad. That's not artwork. And he's like, no, it's artwork. See, they're huge Brillo pad boxes. And they're like, no, that's a Brillo pad box. You got to pay taxes on shit. Fuck you. And he didn't go to the show. Supposedly, that's what the deal was. So it works up until a point, and then you have to. The proof is in the pudding. You have to do something with it. No. Interesting what you said about social media. I know it was kind of a one-off. The idea that it's not really creators. It's not really content creating.
Influencers.
It's influencing.
They're just
Unpaid employees, man.
Speaking of influencing and all this stuff, social media, are growing up in the 80s, for me, I was bored. Do you think kids are bored ever? I mean, I was bored a lot. I was bored for like 15, 20 years. Are kids bored? I mean, I was probably 20 something before I was bored.
I don't know any kids.
Any kids?
I only know autistic kids, and they're all artists, so they're not bored. So I don't know.
Tell us a little bit about your artistic kids that you know.
Indeed.
So I work every day. I run my company, Tink Tank Animate, but with running my company, I'm real hands-on. I do the one-to-one sessions. I have a number of mentors and producers that do one-to-one sessions, but I do about 3 to 4 one-to-one sessions myself every day. And we work with the artists one-to-one, and we help them make their own books, make their own animations, movies, and musicals, and podcasts and audio dramas. And it's awesome. So it's really keeps me making art all the time, telling stories all the time. So if it's not my own stories, I'm helping other people tell their stories. So
do you use AI in this?
Some stuff, sometimes, not a lot. They're funny. They'll like it to a degree, and then some of them absolutely hate it and don't want anything to do with it.
And what did they graduate? What kind of stories do these kids gravitate towards? I mean, and how do you help them facilitate that?
There's a lot of self-reflection stories going on. They do a lot of reflection of self, a lot of self-advocating forms of storytelling. They may put themselves into anamorphic characters, but it tends to be a lot of self-advocating within that. Yeah.
And do you see a change in personality before and after creativity?
Deeply. They really grow a huge sense of confidence. That's kind of. The parents say it was unimaginable until they found their voices through this, being able to tell their stories and find this strength in themselves. It's really nice. Yeah. The enrichment is powerful. It really
It's called
is.
Tink Tank what?
Animate.
Tink Tank Animate. That's awesome. What inspired you to do that?
Well, I had worked with a young lady who was in high school, Sydney, who was on the spectrum, and her family wanted me to teach her stop motion. She used to make these Sculpey figures, and so I taught her some stop motion, and then she ended up getting into Cal Arts.
Wow.
And that was pretty awesome. And then this school had heard about me, and they worked with autism and animation, and so they wanted me to work with them, and so I started working with them but they were a trade school, and a trade school that was focused on the skills of animations and not the writing and directing,
Right, the
and
storytelling.
creating of content.
Yeah.
So then that was what I wanted to do. And so with the blessing of the school, I broke off from the school and to start Tink Tank Animate, which was only going to focus on the creation of their own content. And so they'll learn this. We say you'll learn the skills by making your own stuff.
So, agreed.
Yeah.
Once you have a thing that you've made, what the fuck do you do with it?
They put it out there somehow. If it's a little movie, they're going to put it on YouTube. If it's a longer movie, maybe they try to put it on Amazon Prime. Maybe they'll put it in some festivals. Maybe they don't put it in festivals. Maybe
If they were gonna put it into festivals,
they do the film freeway, and we try.
do you do much research on the film festival before you submit to?
No, you just try to keep it low money, so they don't spend a lot of money.
And what's the benefit of putting it in a film
And then
festival?
just feel good about themselves.
Right. See, so it seems obvious, but as I've
And then a lot of them do books, and so then they'll self-publish their books
okay.
through either Amazon or Lulu.
Is
Yeah.
there a local festival in your city? You're in Detroit, is that correct?
I am. There are festivals. There's a Detroit International Animation Festival. They didn't pick me.
Yeah.
I didn't get in. But one of my employees, one of my mentors, who their animation got picked for the Detroit Festival. So someone.
I got a question. Were you in Detroit in 1982?
No.
Oh yeah, no, we got to ask him some serious Detroit questions.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, we do. We have an angle here.
Then we'll wrap it up because I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. We gotta. Ken, I'm gonna let you do that.
Oh no. Is there anything about Detroit that we should know about that you're kind of connected into city-wise? You listen to like more Detroit techno or?
I love it. Yeah, no, I love my Detroit techno. Yeah.
They still doing a DMF every year?
What?
DMF?
DMF?
Yeah, Detroit Music Festival. Do they not do that anymore?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
they have movement every year.
So on
Movement.
Mondays we have a campaign, tabletop role-playing game that is not Dungeons and Dragons. It's called DreadLore, and the campaign name is called The Red Writ.
The Red Writ.
And it's a horror campaign investigation set in Detroit, 1982.
Okay.
And it's this idea of like the solstice, which actually just fucking happened. I thought the game would actually be over by this point. Leading up to it, of course, the characters, Ken's character being one of them, they're trying to stop these cultists from doing bad cultist shit. They're not really sure what they're, but the dead are rising, and that's a whole thing. So finding out you're from Detroit, we'll see. Like a lot of it goes on, Bell Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the big sunken temple is on Bell Island. And
Okay.
they just went there and like fucked shit up and, killed one of the bad guys, and then they come back. There's a marina there, and I was trying to use many of the real, what am I talking about? Locations. Like Grosse Pointe is a neighborhood, and these are just things I've read about a little. But
Rich neighborhood.
exactly. So we made it really rich, and of course it's the site of all kinds of depravity. Just
Okay.
Okay, I got two questions for you.
Yeah.
The first one is you lived in Los Angeles for a long time.
Mm.
Do you have any advice for Bill? You have anybody he should reach
get
out
out,
to
get out while you can.
that is an indie filmmaker that I should put him in touch with?
I don't know anybody really much out there anymore.
Everybody took off.
Yeah, in a way, kinda.
And I noticed that you were working with Doug Friel
Yeah, he's up in Portland.
That's
he
super
teaches-
cool.
Yeah, he mentors with me at Tink Tank. He's been doing it for like 4 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I guess he was with Fallout for a little while, or in that,
little bit.
in that realm of people that
Yeah.
I always keep on thinking that I'm going to reach out to Bill Fishman at some point and like be like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, he's they're still putting videos out at Fallout. So.
Are they?
Yeah, they get these like weird, huge. They have an agent and they get like weird big videos. I mean, big videos. I think they're probably like $5,000 these days. I mean, the
Right.
music video budget just fucking fell out.
Oh,
about-
I imagine.
It's about the love. Oh, that's something you could probably a last conversation. When you started, what were budgets for making a film, and now what are budgets for making a film?
Me making a film or
No,
other
like,
people making a
Just
film?
what you experienced when you were in LA.
But that's the thing. For me making a movie or other people.
Yeah,
do
well,
both.
you. I'll do both.
I never made a movie for the. So Anna Cabrini, I spent $25,000 to make that movie. I never spent $25,000 again. I never
Why not?
I couldn't find $25,000 again.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, that's a
Was
lot
the
of
movie
money.
successful?
What?
Was the movie successful?
Can you define that? Those terms?
No, I want you to define it. These are open-ended. Listen, I'm a millennial. We were never given multiple choice.
Okay, so yes,
We just
Anna
open-ended
Cabrini
question.
Anna Cabrini Chronicles was hugely successful for me.
You accomplished what you wanted to with it.
Yeah, I could have accomplished more, but
Mm.
for myself, yeah.
So that leads to, I mean, $25,000 in my mind is a shit ton of money. There's people that I've met out here that make it in a day, but those people they're doing something completely different. For me, that's everything I could ever possibly own. Time, a good
Right.
factor. So I understand the obvious of why you didn't spend that money again, but
Right.
what I'm asking is why didn't you spend it again?
Why didn't I?
Yeah.
It's because the return is hard to come by, and you're trying to find you do your best to see if someone's going to give you a real budget for scripts you've written, and until you're getting that real budget, you're still going to make your film. You're going to make film, but through those years, I made film that I was capable of without having to spend budget. I did have my Baal Shem Tov movie was much bigger budget. It was a fully, very well budgeted film, but it's a totally different kind of monster, but it wasn't my money.
Very cool. Very cool. Ken, anything else?
What's next on the radar for you? Did you ever use any of my music? I know I sent you some of it.
Someone used it once.
Yeah.
I don't remember who, but someone used it once. I have it in my library. Anytime anyone needs music, they have the option of.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, send me a link to anything that keep me posted on what they're doing. If you think of anybody that would potentially be interested in being
On the
our show,
podcast? I'll send
on
you
our
some
podcast,
people.
yeah,
Sure.
that would be great. And we'll talk movies, we'll talk art, we'll talk
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
directing and producing and script writing, story. You know, it's pretty loose. But I definitely think I was thinking about reaching out to Doug to see what he was up to.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Certainly.
Oh, and I know you know a bunch of famous people. Do you have any favorite famous people that you've known and hung out with?
My famous
Oh.
people, just my
Your
friends.
favorite.
Norwood, Fisher, Trace Bruins. Those are my buddies. Yeah.
Any big projects? Any projects on the future? Any music stuff?
I have a horror movie I really want to make here in Detroit called Kicks. And I got the script. Just a matter of when I want to pull the trigger on holding auditions, and it's just I just get my stage done, and then I can probably pull the trigger on it.
Well, if you have a follow-up horror movie, I know of a really good story. It's set in Detroit in 1982. And if you need someone that, about 5'9", darkish hair, I might know. Maybe a 6'5" guy. He's got kind of like, salt and pepper beard, glasses. Does this a lot. Todd, thank you very much for coming out. And
hey, thank you guys. This was fun.
Indeed.
And great to see you again, Ken. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been way too long. Like way too long. We should check in. I think we check in sometimes, just we like do. Here and there. So it's good. It's good to spend some time with you.
Absolutely.
Let's do it again soon.
Peace out.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Peace out, y'all. Thanks everyone for joining the Geeky Gamer Podcast.
Good night, everyone.
Podcast
Good night,
with Tawd Dorenfeld.
Yeah.
You can check all of his stuff out. We've got links in the description and all that good stuff. We wanted to thank. I'm going to do the outro, Ken.
Yeah, do it. Go for
we wanted to thank the Patreon people. That's right. We got a Patreon. If you want to join it, you're welcome to. But we're going to thank these people. Tim Roberts, long-standing member. Daniel Holker. You can see him on Mondays during the Red Red. Natalia Cline is our newest member. And, of course, Nostalgic, long-standing member. Love you guys. You help us out a ton and make us, fight the good fight. Fight the spiral of despair. It actually really does fucking help. So thank you very much. I wanted to thank Couch Fire Media. What? All these graphics, all of this stuff that you have seen, all this music, it's Couch Fire Media. You can hire them. Go to www.couchfiremedia.com. Check them out. Turns out they're pretty good. Speaking of music, all lowercase letters. That's right, all lowercase letters. Find them literally everywhere. When you do your Spotify, when you do your Instagram and all that stuff, when you do your TikTok, check it out. All lowercase letters. Thank you guys for lending us your music. Mr. Interrupt is up in there. Thank you, sir, for the music and all the goods. There's a thing called Trois-Rible. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about those guys.
Talk about them.
We don't talk about them. They told us not to talk. We're not going to talk about them anymore. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Geeky Gamer Podcast. We're on Spotify. We're everywhere. We're like air. Check us out. We'll be back next Thursday, right about 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Bye.